Yo, what's good, everybody? Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the geekiest tier list of all time, or the Star Wars movie and show tier list. Starting at the top with the Grand Master tier, and at the bottom with the Youngling tier. And this is the best, this is obviously the worst. So we're going to sort of go in chronological order from 1 to 9, and then from there, we're just going to go in this order, I suppose. So let's start off with Actually, I'm just going to do the original trilogy first, because if you don't like the original trilogy, you aren't a Star Wars fan. I hate to break it to you, but that's just the case. Episode 1, definitely Grand Master. Episode 2, definitely Grand Master. Return of the Jedi, it's definitely a good movie, but compared to these two, I think that it's sort of like George Lucas ran out of ideas, so he did a spin-off of the first one, which I wasn't a big fan of, but overall it was definitely a good movie, like a fight between father and son, for sure. But I don't think that it's in the same tier as these two. And then we'll just go to the prequels now. We'll start with Episode 1. So Master and Knight, these two are sort of, in the middle. Youngling is just completely unwatchable. Padawan is like, I sort of snooze off during it, but it's okay. Knight is like, I'll watch it reluctantly. Master's like, okay, whatever. And then you've got these two. So then we'll start with Episode 1. And I'd say that this one would have to be Knight, because I know the whole consensus of this movie is hating on it, but when I went back and rewatched it, it isn't the worst thing in the world. There's plenty of Star Wars movies that are absolute trash compared to this. Episode 1, it's not great, but I think that it deserves a little bit more credit than it's given, especially because of that awesome lightsaber fight between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul. Then we've got Episode 2, which, honestly, I'm just gonna be frank here, has an absolutely awesome plot, like the Republic getting the, what do you call them again, clone troopers, and being in a dilemma. Do we keep our peacekeeping persona, or do we become warriors? I definitely like that. Jango Fett, the clone attack on Geonosis, awesome movie. However, the one thing that gets in the way of this being an awesome Star Wars movie is that disgusting, ushy-gushy love story between Anakin and Padme. Ugh, I hate Sand almost as much as I hate that love story. So it's gonna have to go below Episode 1. It's just disgusting. It's not well written. You don't really care for either of their characters, and it just makes it uninteresting. If it wasn't for that, I would probably say it's in here, maybe even here. But no, it shot itself in the foot. Absolutely disgusting. Then we got Revenge of the Sith, which overall, I think that this movie is awesome, okay? I know that the prequels aren't as good as the originals, but this movie is one of the better ones. It's just super good, in my opinion. I'm gonna have to put it in Council Member. The downfall of Anakin, and especially that attack on that lightsaber duel on Mustafar. That was awesome. And then we're gonna have to get, unfortunately, to the dark ages of Star Wars, which is the prequels. Disney takes over. They take an awesome thing and turn it into a pile of shit. It's disgusting how they did that. They did Star Wars dirty, especially with The Force Awakens. Their first mistake was hiring J.J. Abrams, because he's so uncreative that he was like, alright, we have a completely blank slate here. Let's just hear me out here. What we're gonna do is we are going to do something that has already been repeated twice. We are going to put another Death Star in there, do the same old boring destroying the thing plot, and this time it's even stronger than it was before. BS. I don't like the First Order. I felt no attachment to these characters whatsoever. It felt like a children's movie. I'm putting this one in Youngling. I hate The Force Awakens. And then we have The Last Jedi, which, based on my tone of voice, you might be thinking I'm putting it in Youngling because, Luke didn't come out and start destroying the First Order single-handedly, but no. I think that other than there were definitely some downfalls about this movie, I think it was the best of the prequel trilogy, honestly. But I don't really know the director's name, but whoever he was, I think he did well with what he was given. So while I don't think it can go up here, I'm gonna put it in night. I sort of start dozing off while watching it. It's a little bit boring, but overall, it's a fine movie, I'd say. And then, oh my gosh, The Rise of Skywalker. You know, if you didn't think that J.J. Abrams wasn't the right man for Star Wars before, then this movie had to have convinced you otherwise. This movie was... I'd rather sit in a dumpster and marinate than have to sit on my couch and watch this movie again. I don't really even remember what the plot is. It was just so unbelievably forgettable. This movie is awful. Absolutely awful. A-W-F-U-L. Awful. Actually, A-W-F-U-L-L. Awful with 2 L's. That's how bad this movie was. Disgusting. And then, here comes J.J. Abrams again, like, okay guys, The Force Awakens, most people like that one, so, instead of just one Death Star, we are going to have a fleet of Death Stars. Just hear me out here. We're gonna bring the Emperor back, who had a very good death in Return of the Jedi. We are going to completely ruin Star Wars, but it's gonna be epic. And boy, oh boy, was it not epic. And most of the times I just cool off pretty quickly, but after what J.J. Abrams did to Star Wars, I can't cool off. I'm gonna be mad the rest of this tier list, alright? What's next? Star Wars Rebels? I didn't even watch it. Put it in Youngling. Probably trash. I don't even know what this is. Then we have Rogue One, which was a great movie. Definitely in Council Member. Up there with, the Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi. Overall, this movie just was really important. It filled in a lot of the gaps that were missing, and I think that whoever directed it did a very good job. And then we got The Clone Wars, the movie of The Clone Wars, which was a little bit bland, sort of generic, but it was a good it was a good base for the rest of what we came to know and love, The Clone Wars. So I'm gonna put it in night. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't super good either. Then we have The Clone Wars, which, yeah, Star Wars, I'm telling you, would not be the same without The Clone Wars. It's going in Grandmaster. The Clone Wars is probably the most influential Star Wars show or thing to ever come out, because it just connected you much more with the prequel trilogy and made you feel much more connected with all the characters, especially Anakin and Obi-Wan and all of the clone troopers. It was really important, and it was more than important as well. It was really good. And then we have The Mandalorian, which, you know, this show is what the Book of Boba Fett could have been. If I had Book of Boba Fett on this tier list, it would go in Padawan, because they had such a good opportunity to show what Boba Fett was during the time of the Empire, and instead they turned him into some sympathetic Tusken Raider-raised crime boss. It doesn't make any sense to me. It had so much potential, a Book of Boba Fett, and they completely ruined it. The Mandalorian is what it could have been, what it should have been. It's gonna have to go in Council Member. Really, really good. The Mandalorian. I don't think it can go in Grandmaster. These are just too classic, but definitely in Council Member. And then we have Solo, which actually I just finished watching a few minutes ago. I rewatched it, and you know, before I hated it, and then when I rewatched it, I was like, you know, this movie's actually pretty good. It wasn't a bad movie at all, so I think it's going to be the first to go into Master. It really cleared up a bunch of things about Han Solo. I think it was a justified movie to create. What are they going to come out with next? The Book of Qui-Gon? But I think this one was definitely justified. It was a pretty good movie as well. I'm going to put it in Master. I enjoyed Solo. So yeah, I don't even know what this is. So I'm just gonna end the tier list there, I suppose. Thanks for watching. This is my tier list. If you disagree with anything, particularly my consensus on The Last Jedi or Solo, then tell me. I don't care. But thanks for watching, and goodbye.